Storyteller and your host. Here's what we're going to talk about: why this live Monday show exists in the first place. We're going to talk a little bit about movies. Movies come across my feed. I'll give you the review, the amateur review of an interesting movie, and a little extra. It is a foreign film. Ooh, we'll talk about that. Also, we're going to get some advice. We're going to have dinner with a live person, show you the power of dirt. I'll give you another one of my genius ideas, and we're going to talk about Martin Luther King Jr., not in that particular order. Dwayne Bickett is standing by. We'll get to you in just a minute, Dwayne. Let me talk about Dwayne. Dwayne is a phenomenal craftsman and builder, and there's a chance you've never heard of him. He's like Mike Rowe, only a smaller version of Mike Rowe. He is literally a Mike Rowe, a micro Mike Rowe. Anyway, we'll get to him in a minute. But first, let's go to chapter one, my genius idea. I get a genius idea about once every 5 minutes. And the genius idea is actually what you're watching right now. This is the niche cast. Why a niche cast? How, when, and who? Well, let's talk about why, shall we? I'm tired of what is out there. It seems that we put things in boxes, and if you're going to partake in any sort of content, it's either going to be in the political box, where there's a lot of yelling and there's not really much thinking, just two sides yelling at each other. There's the sports box, which is kind of trivial from my mind. Interesting, but at the end of the day, does it really matter? There's a religious radio box, which is good, but also kind of surfacey. Like maybe they're not as genuine as they could be because they can't be genuine because they're on a religious radio station. There's podcasts. Everybody has a podcast. Podcast. Okay. Just because you can do a podcast doesn't mean you should. There's just a lot of amateurs doing podcasts, and they're also very demanding. If you listen to a podcast, I mean, you have to listen to the podcast. You really can't do anything else. So unless you're driving to another destination, it's hard to listen to a podcast. So I wanted to do something where I could spend some time with interesting people who have interesting things to say and invite interesting people along for the ride. That's why you're here. How? Well, Booker is back there spinning the plates, and so we are now live on every imaginable platform we can get up on. We're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Live 365. So I'm going to be talking for, I don't know how long we'll talk, maybe an hour, maybe 45 minutes. It's our first show. When we're done, we're going to cut it into smaller segments and then release those as blog posts, release those as podcasts, release those as clips. Depends on the venue, depends on the length. And the idea is that we'll invite those people to come to this program on a Monday where either they can see it live, watch the whole thing later on in the week, or just listen to segments of it distributed throughout these various social medias. When? We're going to do it every Monday night at 7 p.m. Central Time, and we'll do it for about an hour. And who? Well, who, as we said, we have Micro Mike Rowe. We have Dwayne Bickett, who is a great conversationalist. He's a super smart guy, and he's smart in a lot of different ways. So if we want practical advice on literally living in your home, Dwayne's going to be our guy. And you are the other person who is here. And you are a person who is maybe tired of the regular glurge that seems to be coming across, and you want something different. You're looking for companionship. You're looking for something that's real. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm not reading a teleprompter. I will not read teleprompters on this show. I'm going to speak directly from my mind. I will not use AI. I will not cover up my blemishes so I look even more handsome. I'm handsome enough. I think in the world, there's just like this I'll call it a bullshitometer, right? Where you just go, this is AI, it's fake, it's fake. And I don't want that for you. I think that makes us anxious. So I'm trying to give you something that's real and that's also company. And now I'll talk about me. And that brings us to chapter 2, the power of dirt. All right. Sometimes when a person takes a platform, we think, wow, this guy's something. And we'll quickly say, well, nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. And we all agree that nobody's perfect. What we don't agree is that nobody is even close to perfect. None of us are even close to perfect. I'll just give you one example. I think I have had the hand in purchasing about 25 used cars. I do not like to waste money, so I have carefully researched those cars to make sure they were the very best of the very best. And I was right about 60 to 65% of the time. I've discovered that when I say things, I'm right about 60% of the time. When I jump in on one side of the argument, not right all the time. I have an extremely high failure rate. And so I am calling myself what I believe to be true. I am dirt. Huh. Think about that, dirt. We make fun of dirt. Dirt has some important qualities, though, right? Dirt, when you plant seeds in dirt, you can either grow weeds or you can grow crops, you can grow fruits, you can grow a life with good soil. And dirt is who I am. I try to plant seeds, I try to pull weeds, we all do. And we're all on that journey together. And I'm doing the best I can. And do not, please, in your comments, do not be afraid to hold me accountable, but do not be afraid to hold yourself accountable as well. What is that saying? Here's to you as good as you are, and here's to me as bad as I am. But as good as you are, and as bad as I am, I'm as good as you are, as bad as I am. And then one more thing, the reflective power of dirt. Now, I've not been to the moon, but I've seen pictures of it, and everything seems to be this kind of dullish gray rock or gravel. It is certainly not reflective. It's not clean. It's not really attractive in any way. It's a big ball of gray dirt. But when the sun hits its surface, it reflects a beautiful white glow onto the earth. A full moon is glorious to behold. And you look at that, look at how glorious that moon is. It's dirt, but it still has that reflective power. When I stop trying to be me and just try to be in the glory of Christ, I can reflect light. And so I do things in the world. What I really should try to do is less of me and more just being and reflecting. And that's just something I want you to think about on the power of dirt. Now, what chapter are we on? Chapter 4? Let's bring him in. First off, Dwayne, I want to show this to you. Guess what I found in the street? Look at this. Somebody left this in the middle of the streets. I picked it up. It is, now tell the people what this is. This is a magical piece of carpentry amazement.
Well, we call it a speed square.
Yes,
I
a
think that's,
speed
I don't know if
square.
that's a technical name, but we call it a speed square.
Yeah. So, what does a speed square cost?
One like
I just
that,
want to
and
see how
that
much
actually
money I
that's
saved.
a pretty good one because you can buy them, and it's all due to aluminum. They're all made out of aluminum. I've never seen
Yeah.
one that wasn't. The thicker ones obviously are more. They're in the $13, $14 range. You
Okay,
can buy
okay.
them,
So, uh,
at the discount store for $1.99.
and they can be made out of plastic, but you got the. So I'm on the way home. I walked to meet a guy for coffee, and through suffering through the weather, I picked up $15. Is what you're telling me. Now, if you have some
Yeah.
time, watch some YouTube videos about how the geniuses use a speed square. And Dwayne, I'm putting you in that category. Quickly, what can you use a speed square for?
Well, day like today, when it's good and icy, it's a great ice scraper, not for windows. If you're working on let's say you're getting ready to put the sill plate on a basement and there's some ice on it, it scrapes great. It scrapes mud, it scrapes dirt. But I think when they invented it, that's not where they started. But when you showed it, I don't know if the whole thing completely showed, but it's basically an aluminum triangle with a whole bunch of numbers. It will show you degree of angle, which comes in very important when you're putting on rafters. If you're going to cut some stairs, where it says hip valley, that's a rafter reference. You can use it to once you lay out your layout for your stud placement, you can move it over an inch and a half, mark both sides of the line. You can make 45s with it. You can dig in dirt with it when you got
Well,
to. Well, for leveling up a ladder, it works great for that too.
so you're looking at if you look at the average house, look at how many angles there are on it. You put the sheeting on the roof. How'd they get that angle? You look at cutting steps. How'd they get the angle for those stretchers? There's a lot of different angles in it, and you could involve a calculator, but some genius a long time ago invented this. It's full of tricks and tips, and to watch a guy use a speed square, well, it's just like watching an artist. It's like watching Rembrandt with a brush. Hey, by the way, did you like my reference to micro,
I did.
micro?
Yeah. I've met Mike Rowe.
Oh,
He
you
is
have.
a pretty incredible guy. Yeah.
Well, I mean, he is super talented, very funny, very interesting, supports the trades. But I'm just going to say this. I think you're a better carpenter than he is. I don't know that he's actually worked in the trades, has he?
Not as a living, but if you ever watched his show Dirty Jobs, that's where he really had his claim to fame because some of the things that he did and some of the places they put him, um, there was no AI involved. That was him, whether it
Yeah,
was laying concrete or uh, doing the sewer
yeah,
evacuation job.
yeah, yeah.
He was in there.
Yeah, I've seen the ones I've seen that I remember are him involved in sewage. He did a lot of sewage jobs,
Yeah,
and you
yeah,
can't. And I think that the reason they had good ratings is that when you watch TV, you can watch it, but you can't smell it. If you could smell those
yeah.
episodes, his ratings would have tanked. Okay, Dwayne, you
But
ready? Here we
it
go.
all runs downhill.
Chapter 4. No, 3. Our next chapter. Dwayne, dinner with a live person. So they have to be alive and you can meet them for dinner. You're buying, but they can be anybody. Who are you going to take?
My favorite guy right now, just from LinkedIn, I watch a lot of YouTube, because I didn't get this huge shiny head from just reading and looking at knowledge. You got to go to YouTube once in a while. That's how you fix things. But a guy that to me really stands out lately is Shaquille O'Neal, and it's not because he's taller than everybody else in the world. It's not because he can dunk without jumping, which I never possessed that skill or ability, but the amount of humanity that just
Mhm.
oozes out of that man, his philanthropy, his benevolence towards people. He very rarely ever turns down, uh, um, not really an interview, but if somebody wants to talk, he finds time. He will shake an adult's hand. I've never seen on any of the things that I've watched him on. He never shakes a little kid's hand. He always hugs them, and his
Ah,
hands are way, way bigger than a small child's head.
yeah, right.
But he goes into stores and he talks to people and he finds out that, their washer and dryer just died and maybe her mom's got cancer or something like that. and they go out of there with brand new appliances. And for him, it isn't a significant amount of money for the amount of money and the millions that he makes. But when you see that, and it to me, and this is just me, I don't interpret that as showy or for show, because a lot of times where you see him, he's interacting with other people, and then a kid comes up or somebody asks him a question or something like that. That to me is the epitome of somebody that you should look at or idolize, because
What are you gonna
he's not
what
arrogant.
what's your question? You're gonna I mean, obviously, I agree. I think it would be fascinating to eat with. What are your questions? What are you gonna ask him?
I would say, how does he deal with Charles Barkley without strangling him sometimes? And he does a pretty good job of whacking him around too. But and he talks a lot about his mom and his family,
Yeah, yeah.
and things like that to me are way more interesting than watching a documentary or something along that line. Just find out and really find out why he does what he does. I
Where are you
mean,
gonna
why?
eat? Where are you gonna eat? What's the ambiance? Where's it gonna be?
I would say he's probably a steak eater,
Yeah,
as am I.
yeah.
If we're going to be in South Dakota, it's going to be really really good South Dakota grass fed beef.
Right, right.
I would assume that he can eat considerably more than I do.
You know,
So
you know what
as much as
I might say, Dwayne, is that there's a lot of places that kind of have the can you eat the 72 ounce, whatever it is? Wouldn't it be fun to invite him along? Now, maybe,
yeah,
we don't know. Maybe he's a finicky eater and doesn't eat very much. But I think if a guy like that walks into your steak joint and says, eat the 9 pound steak or it's free, they're quickly trying to take the sign down when they see him walk.
yeah,
So on my
yeah,
list, I put Alan Page. I like Alan
good
Page
choice.
because I'm a Vikings fan going way back. And Alan
Hmm.
Page did something that you don't see very often. He pivoted from sports into something just as important, maybe more important. He's a judge. And I've seen him, I think I saw him at a Gophers game. I don't go to a lot of sporting events, but he is a guy who just goes to a game. And you go, wait, is that Alan Page? And he goes by himself. He is out of the limelight so that he is able to be anonymous, yet everybody knows who he is. I'd like to go have lunch with that guy and just see. I would like to, I would say he's probably in his middle to late 70s by now. He's led a full life. He's seen it from all different kinds of perspectives. He was very gifted athletically. Many athletes are, but then what do they transition to? I think they mostly spend the rest of their lives kind of being looking back at the glory days. He would be an interesting one for me. I'd like to have lunch with Alan Page. And it wouldn't surprise me if he's a vegetarian. He's just a counter guy. He's just never what you think he's going to be. I think I would try to take him to hmm I would say outdoors at like a fishing area and see if I could maybe have the all you can eat whatever kind of fish fry that's outside. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, when you first asked me that, who I'd want to have dinner with or lunch with, and I don't know why this jumped into my mind other than I saw it on LinkedIn today that they had the Bond girls and James Bond then and now from wherever their film was till today. And it kind of triggered in my mind, if you were going to ask me that, the first thing I would say is Daisy Duke, Catherine Bach,
Sure. Sure.
because that show came on when I was 17 years old. And to me, that she had it all.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about that, this brings everything back home. When I was going to Mitchell Tech as a youngster, trying to learn how to ply my trade, I guess you could say, my my seatmate who was in drafting class, and this is back when we had drafting boards and drafting pencils and drafting squares. We didn't have CAD. I don't know if they had computers in the office back
Hmm.
then, but anyway, my seatmate was Catherine Bach's next door neighbor in Huron, South Dakota when they grew up. So he said, someday I'm just going to find a way where you can meet her.
And never
And
happened, though, did it?
no, but I'm still waiting. I still am optimistic. And when that
I
happens,
heard.
I'm wearing my Daisy Duke shorts too. I guarantee it.
Oh boy, say Booker, can we get that picture up? We have AI the ability right now. We're just going to show Dwayne Bickett in Daisy Duke shorts.
That'd be awesome.
That would be an audience killer. All right. Okay. Enough. We go on to the next chapter. Okay, at this point we usually interview somebody, and this is the question. If you know somebody who's interesting, we'd like to interview them. If you are interesting, we'd like to interview you. And so reach out to us. Our contact information is throughout this. So you can go to I like that story.com. I like that story.com. Oh, here it is right here. Here's all my contact information. Good job, Booker. Email at jeff at I like that story.net. You can phone me at 605 215 6414. You can go in the comments section and just say, hey, here's a guy you should interview. Now, I will say we are interested in interviewing famous names. Now, I didn't say famous people because I don't think we have the bandwidth yet, but we are interested in famous names. For example, there's a guy in our town who's named Tony Bennett. He sells cars, but his name is famous. So I'd like to interview him. I think there's a pretty good chance we can interview a Tom Brady. I don't think there's a pretty good chance we can interview a Barack Obama. I think that's probably not going to happen, but I think we could interview um we could interview a James Bond, couldn't we?
Hmm.
Anyway, you let us know. Get back to us if you got somebody to interview. But because we don't have an interview today, I thought I would just do a little conversation about Martin Luther King. Okay. We celebrate Martin Luther King Day, or at least we think about it, or at least we don't work on it, or unless we do work on it. And we don't oftentimes spend some time really imagining or thinking about the person, Martin Luther King. So look at your history books and go back in ancient history into today. We see four different strategies for dealing with people who are different than us. The first is extermination. I don't like those guys. I don't know these guys. Let's go and wipe them out. Look through your history books, ancient history, very true. Then there's this concept of separation. Well, if I keep them across this particular border, then I won't have to exterminate them. And that's how we're going to live, just live in separation. And then we move into something that is done not very well by many different countries, and we struggle with it. That's integration. And then the final step is collaboration. I think of the ultimate collaboration. I was down at like a seafood place down in Dallas, and there were these. It was Chinese tacos. They have a bun that's soft that they would fold like a taco, and then they would put kimchi in it. That's a Korean sauerkraut, and burnt pork ends and some sriracha sauce. They combined, to my mind, like four or five cultures, and it was absolutely delicious. It was collaboration. Well, integration has been a much more difficult road for many of us. I would argue that Americans do it as good as anybody else, although it still is a struggle. Martin Luther King was a genius at it, and let me explain why. There's four principles that we see. First off, there's no excuse for bad behavior, is there? Second, there's no excuse for excusing bad behavior. Number three, we all behave badly. As I said earlier, we are all dirt. Hmm. Now, the fourth interesting thing is something that everybody seems to do. When bad behavior occurs, we then seek refuge in a group. And we say they're picking on me because of my group. And then the group, for whatever reason, does not say, well, what did you do? The group says, well, you're one of us, you're one of our group, we'll protect you. And then that's when the fight breaks out, right? So look at what Martin Luther King was able to do. Now, you know how churches get along. They don't. But he was able to get so many churches involved and then get them to do the following almost ridiculously impossible thing. He would find out an area of injustice and then say, who is the most reputable, honest, and above board person in this town? And in this case, it would have been Rosa Parks, who was just a middle aged gal minding her own business, universally respected in that town. Let's have her quietly break that rule that we think is unfair. And she did. And then she quietly went to jail. And then the others quietly joined her in jail. And then others said, you know what? We don't need to ride that bus. We can carpool. We'll make it work. And then quietly, they called out that injustice without ever doing anything bad. They did nothing outrageous. They did nothing violent. They just said no. And they didn't chant. They sang, "We shall overcome." They walked through towns in this quiet, dignified, and majestic way. They did nothing that could be called horrible. And so, in that humility, they just focused on what was wrong, and he changed America. He changed America. He wasn't just a black man. He was a Christian man who used Christian principles to change the world. Now, obviously, injustices happen, and there are many issues that are going on in the world today. But I would just say on this Martin Luther King Day, if you really want to make change and positive, real change, study how he did that and figure out how you could do that. All right, here we go. Chapter next. I'm going to talk about movies. Okay. So, Dwayne.
Yes, sir.
Foreign film fan. Have you seen? Let's play the trailer. Booker, play the trailer. It's a foreign film. Makes me sound better. Showed up on my feed. Watched it the other night. Let's see if we can pull it up here. It's called The Tank in German, or Der Tiger, and it's about a tiger tank. By the way, you must get these in your feed, right, Dwayne? You must see all these history documents, right? Probably. Oh, here we go. Watch this trailer.
That's kind of my thing.
It may be they're getting sound. Oh my. Okay. First
That was
off,
a quick clip.
it's made in Germany. This is a German film, and I'm asking myself, how would you do a World War II film if you were German, right? Huh. Are we ready to try it again, Booker? Okay, here it is. Watch the clip.
So what's happened to our tiger?
Just a little battered and bruised, but she'll soon be ready. And your mission?
It is, yeah. On this mission, we have to determine the whereabouts of Colonel von Hardenburg and escort him back.
Shit.
5 kilometers to the front line. Then it's all eyes open. Let's just leave here right away. Go now!
I wish I could just forget it. Forget who we were before.
Romans fighting for Rome forever, never stopping to rest. So the Latin teacher, wine grower, and the train driver find themselves just as cornered.
We reap what we sow.
Right. We reap what we sow. Okay, so the premise is this lone tiger tank has to go across parts of Russia and find this abandoned bunker where they can help rescue this German officer. And I think it takes place in like 1943. So already Germany is starting to lose. They're in retreat. And Dwayne, if you're watching a movie like that, it's just not going to end well, is it? Right? You just get a feeling this is not going to end well.
No.
But I will say, it was the tank The tank was the star of this movie. If you like old machinery, if you like how they would move and operate that thing, there's excellent cinematography, and you see how the mechanics of the tank work. And this scene, it's not going to give anything away. This scene is the whole movie. They're running away from three Russian tanks. They would like to confront them, but it would stop their mission. So check this out, Dwayne. They go underwater with that Tiger tank. I checked it. Apparently you could. You could seal it up, adjust the turret, lock everything down, put some seals, put some covers over the barrel of the gun, and go underwater. And there was a big stack. You could go completely submerged about 6 feet below the surface. And they do it in the movie. Now, I did some fact checking on it. Like all movies, they stretch the truth a little bit. But can you imagine that? It is the coolest thing I have ever seen in a war movie. Did you know the Tiger tanks could go underwater?
I did not know that.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. It's on Amazon Prime. Are you a Prime member? Are you against all script paid services?
Yeah, well, mostly, but there are things, when you see something you really want to enjoy, you can make a occasional.
Yeah, it's a dystopian film. What's the one guy say? We must pay for our actions. And so, okay, obviously these poor German guys are going to pay a huge price for the actions of their government. Doesn't end particularly well. But that tank is astonishing. And I want to watch that movie again just for just how the machinery worked at that time and age. And of course, it's a little bit easier for us to watch because they're fighting Russians and Russian tanks. So it's not like they're fighting American tanks. So it's a little bit easier, right, to watch the movie. But yes, I give it 3 stars. Okay. Now, next chapter, Dwayne, are you ready for this, my friend?
I'm always ready.
Peace of your mind. A lot of times, people sit around in cafes and they're waiting for somebody to ask them for advice, which never happens. Yet, as we get older, we have great advice. We have something that could actually solve the world's problems. And Dwayne, I'm giving you that rare opportunity to give a piece of your mind to all of our audience today. Go ahead.
It's going to be worth the price you're paying. I've always told all of my clients when I first meet them that no matter what I say the first time is probably not true. It's not that I'm lying to you, and I won't lie to you, but I'm probably going to ad lib a few things along the way. But when you first said that, one of the best pieces of advice I ever got was from an old guy at a cafe, and I was a kid, and I'll never forget it because he said, "Do you want some advice? You want some free advice? Never play leapfrog with a unicorn." And I thought, there's probably a good chance I'm not gonna, but that makes a lot of sense to me. And so I've tried to temper all of my advice by keeping along that line of, if you really think about it, it makes sense. At first, it doesn't make any sense at all. But I would say no matter what you do, and this is advice that I got from my grandmother, and I got a lot of it, was she had a couple pieces. First one is when you get up in the morning, first thing you do is thank God you're alive. Very first thing. The next thing you do is you throw your legs over the side and you stand up. And then at that point, you lean forward. And then you've got a choice to make. Are you going to walk or are you going to fall? Always pick walking. And then the second part of that is she always said, and I don't know if this was directed directly at me, but she always said, you don't have to be smart. And you don't have to be pretty. Just be nice.
Yeah.
And I think I try to live that. And I think if everybody would, and yeah, it's funny and it's comical and it's entertaining and all those kind of things. But if everybody would adopt that, and when we're talking about divisiveness and everything that's going on and all those kind of things, take a bunch of small children that have never met each other, all races of children, little kids, and you give them a mission. You got to get to the top of the monkey bars, and the bars are higher than you can reach. It is amazing and incredible how fast the team is formed and how they get everybody up there, because they don't look at how pretty they are. They don't look at how smart they are. They don't look at what color they are. They look at, we got to get to the top of the monkey bars. I'm going to help you. I'm going to get on my hands and knees. You stand on my back. We see a lot of that on either TikTok or YouTube or something like that, where the one little kid can't get up on the horse. So the brother gets down on his hands and knees and gives her a boost. If you just think about that and maybe just give it a try, hold a door, open a door, tell somebody good morning. And I'm not going to get all weirdly philosophical because I'm really not that deep. But I think civility doesn't have to go away. And I know that I've been a very strong 40-year member of our Home Builders Association, both our local and our state and our national. And I was brought in as the state president in the year 2000. The guy that was vice president that was supposed to take over for me got ill and he couldn't do it. So they said, "Hey, you're up again." So we had a national president that came in, and he was talking and he said, if you look at this organization kind of like the WWF, he said, because when we're in a board meeting and we're discussing and we're talking, there's chairs flying, there's people jumping off the top rope, and we're just beating each other up. But then at the end of the day, we all get on the same bus to go to the next town, because you don't have to be right and you don't have to be wrong, but we do have to meet in the middle if we're ever going to move anything in this country, this city, this town, wherever you live. Nothing's ever going to move forward if all we do is go in a circle, because a circle is not a straight line.
There's a movie called Harvey. It was a play. Jimmy Stewart's in the movie. If you see the play, it's great. I was in the play as a smaller part. But Elwood P. Dowd was the guy. He said something similar to what your grandmother said. And she said, it was his mother. He said, "Elwood, in this world, you can be terribly clever or you can be terribly pleasant." And then he said, "I have tried both. I recommend pleasant." And I just think it's a good validation. We're almost done.
Absolutely.
Mailbag, ask any question you want, send it to us. Happy to help. If we'll look at it in the comments, we'll look it up if we can. We are juggling and spinning a lot of plates. We are theoretically live. So this is what we get to do. Dwayne and I are just talking like guys on the radio. We've been for over 40 years. Booker is making it happen. And this is the mailbag or the mailbox. And you can send us anything you want. You can do it snail mail if you care to. The address is on our website, ilikethatstory.com. You can also send comments. You can also, react in social media. You can subscribe. If you just want common conversation and nothing, no big deal going on here, just people enjoying each other's company, then we're inviting you to be a part of that. Okay. So, Dwayne, this is your chance. You can ask me one question. You can only ask me one question. What is your one question that you want to ask me?
Okay, knowing that, and I just knew this, or I just learned this, that you were in a play.
Mm.
So if you look back at that and you look back at other things, college and kids and because I know that all of your daughters are involved in education, and they said, here's the deal. We're taking away your complete ability for public speaking. What are you going to do now?
Okay, can I act or not? That's my
Yeah, you
follow-up
just
question.
well, we both found that radio is kind of acting, but the only people you're really entertaining is yourself because you kind of got to learn to talk and entertain yourself. But so you can act, but you can't. No, you can't act because that would be
Yeah,
public
yeah. So
speaking and that kind of thing.
I would
If
write.
yeah,
I would
if all
definitely
that's
write.
taken away,
Yeah, I would write because I love stories, and I'd never written a story before. I'd never written a book. I always thought I'd like to say that I wrote a book. Hang on a second. Where is it? Right here. Yeah.
over
So I
here in
write
the
crime.
prop department.
Yeah. I write crime novels, right? And you've been in radio, and you've been in the building industry. You know some really interesting characters, don't you? And and if you were to
Oh
combine
yeah.
these guys and just describe them, if you were to sit in the corner and that guy walks in, and now you describe that guy because she's a fascinating person. Then you ask, well, I wonder what would happen if that fascinating person met that fascinating person. And where would they meet? Let's say they meet at the town cafe, and you're over in the next booth. What are they going to say? And you just write as fast as you can because they're going to get into it. Well, I wrote a series of crime novels that take place in South Dakota, and it was strictly to entertain myself and to bring these characters to life. And my premise was here's this guy in a small town, and he's not from that small town, and they're not treating him very well because he's not from that small town. He's also at the radio station, and his job is to be a reporter. So he's digging up dirt on all the people in town. It's his job, of course, but they're mad at him because, like for example, the guy who's the fire chief, the houses he rents out don't have smoke detectors. So that gets in the news. Obviously, he's not too happy with this guy. And so people can't wait to get rid of this guy because he's a pain. He's also an alcoholic. Now, it never shows up in his product. He's good at his job, but they just want him out. Well, that's my one character. The other character, a guy I kind of love to hate, are these Bill Lambier guys, these guys in sports who are professional jerks, right? Now, maybe they're not really, but they just pretend to be, but they're just arrogant guys. And I picked a guy, I made him super arrogant. I don't know Bill Lambier from a hole in the wall. I know that he was an enforcer on the court and maybe was did some cheap shots. So I made this guy super cheap shots and I made him very wealthy. Now, if you've ever been to South Dakota, we know this to be true. If you die in the state of South Dakota, you're not going to get an autopsy. That it's too expensive. The state isn't going to do it. It'll only happen if the family pays for it out of their own pocket, or if the county coroner says yes, there's suspicious circumstances. But in every county except two, that's an elected position that's usually held by the funeral director. Why? Because that guy is not afraid of hauling dead bodies out of sloughs, right? So he doesn't have any forensic training. And it's for anybody who dies in South Dakota, not just South Dakotans. So this Bill Lambier guy, he is out pheasant hunting in South Dakota, and he hears about this and goes, interesting. So he comes back to this small town that's struggling where this, alcoholic reporter is. And he says, I'm dreaming of building a hunting lodge and a gaming casino. And Dwayne, imagine you're in that audience. Holy cow, I could get some money out of this guy. And he's throwing money ideas. He's looking at blueprints. Everything looks great. Maybe I'd buy your land. Maybe I'd buy your land. Everybody's excited about this multimillionaire coming to town. And then his wife dies. And the only guy who's suspicious is the alcoholic guy who's the radio reporter. And he starts asking questions, and nobody is happy that he's asking questions because he's going to ruin the gravy train, right? So if I explain that to you that way, as I have, you could sit in a corner, couldn't you? and you could write down all the conversations that everybody's having in that cafe because you've listened to all versions of them. And then you just follow them from point A to point B. So if I wasn't a professional speaker in front of people, I think I would get almost as much enjoyment out of it putting it on paper because it's like it comes to life. It's like it comes to life. Oh, look. Oh, my goodness gracious. Can you believe this? On my website, it looks like there's a way you can buy these books. Oh, Dwayne, as God is my witness, I did not know you were going to ask this question, did I? So this looks like I fed this to you.
I just made that up. Like most of the answers in life, I just see which way the wind blows.
So we're going to do this again next week. Here's again how we're going to do this. We're going to distribute this, the whole schmear. If you have 45 minutes you want to spend with us, go ahead. We're also going to chop it into little bits and distribute it on social media. And we're going to put it on a podcast. This is the I Like That Story niche cast, which plays 280 songs in a row and then plays a story. And it's how we connect with people. And I've talked to Dwayne about this kind of dream of mine for about maybe 3 years or so.
Yeah, that seems right.
And it's, I don't know. I think it's fun. We'll see what happens, right?
It's almost as fun as building a timber frame entrance on somebody's shop with an old barn.
We're going to talk
very much an inside story we can talk about next week.
One of the things we're going to enjoy with Dwayne is he is going to peel back the cover and tell us all the things that our builder is afraid to tell us. And we're going to do all the shortcuts to make sure that you're buying a good home or not buying a good home. We are starting the journey, and thanks for being a part of it. So, Dwayne, God bless you, my friend. And thank you for listening to I Like That Story. Have a good day.